DiRT Showdown here, and we've played it a bit in 1920 to get a feel for what it looks like, and we've changed it to 4K, and visually it looks very, very crisp and sharp. It definitely is a step up in clarity.
Yeah, the front of the hood, when you have it in 1080p, you can definitely tell the difference between 4K and 1080p, because on the hood on 4K the reflections look ridiculous. When you go back to 1080p, you can see some of the granular. The reflections just aren't as realistic to me.
Not as sharp and not.
Yeah, I mean, I thought 1080p was badass, but after seeing 4K, it's like.
Yeah, it's almost like the difference between console and PC again. You know, like. Yeah,
it really is.
It's just sharper. So what we've done when we've gone to 4K is we've turned any anti-aliasing off because of the smaller, denser pixels don't need it. And we're currently running without VSync on, and we're getting really good frame rates. So the monitor itself can only run at 30 Hz, but the game with Fraps up there is telling us it's running around sort of 90 frames a second. And it's quite responsive. I feel very connected to the car. I can make the car do exactly what I want it to do. So if I come up to this digger, I can pretty much get into a drift around this digger like straight away, just making like little adjustments straight in. But the trade-off, so we've got no input lag because of VSync, but the trade-off is that we've got tearing across the bottom of the monitor here, which you probably won't be able to see on the camera, but there is a lot of tearing. And at first I didn't really notice it, and I was quite happily driving around until Simon pointed out it was there, and then once he pointed it out, I can't stop seeing it. Like, it's just it's just always there. So, and the other thing is, occasionally when you're like rotating the car around quite a lot like this, you'll get the occasional stutter as the graphics card struggles to keep up with that.
Yeah.
So the other option to remove that tearing down that bottom strip and to stop that stuttering is to turn VSync on. But the downside to this now is we can see with Fraps in the top corner where it's now rendering at 30 Hz, and I've got so much input lag that it's really a struggle to try to get this car to do what I want, because there's like I don't know if it's a full half second, but there's certainly a delay on the input where I feel very disconnected. Like right there, I'm struggling to do what I was just doing before. But as soon as I turn the...
Well, you're saying it earlier too, because since we're in the menu, when you're switching back and forth, there's even a lag when he presses the button to the menu response.
You can tell there's a delay. Like
you
hear the click on the keyboard, because the keyboard's pretty loud, and then the menu takes a tiny fraction of a second more.
Whereas now, by the time I've let go of the key, I'm already on the next menu option. So there's a massive input delay, and then instantly, now I can come up and instantly do what I'm trying to do. So I'm really connected to the car. I've got great control. So I would trade off this tearing, which I didn't even notice until Simon pointed it out.
I'm a horrible person.
Way to go.
I would trade that for being connected to the car and the occasional stutter. But what it's shown to us is that you really need... I mean, what card are we running in this rig? It's like the second fastest AMD card.
Yeah, the 290, not the X, but just the standard 290.
The standard 290, and you know, I mean, this game's not a super intensive game, and it's already struggling to keep up. So some of the other games that we're going to look at later, we're going to see if they're even playable. But it's highlighted how much hardware, GPU hardware, like you're going to need to drive a 4K panel. I mean, the days of doing 3 times like 4K in Infinity are like
gone,
way down the track. You know, it's not going to be able to support that.
Well, I think one of the interesting things is, wasn't right before Infinity, but before triple monitors, you know, now it's really popular, but wasn't there a point in time where the graphics power couldn't keep up with the monitor, and now we've gotten to the point where pretty much the cards can power almost anything, even 3 monitors, but now with 4K we're back to the other way, which is we've got the screens but not enough juice to push the screens. it's like a tick-tock effect. You know, it
The
bounces back.
hardware having to wait up for the software.
Right.
Or
It bounce back and forth between, you know,
monitor graphics.
monitor graphics card, monitor graphics card. What you know, I'm sure we'll be able to run 4K 3 screens, but it's not this gen.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait for AMD and Intel to really come up with something beefy.
So, in my opinion, because I play races a lot, if I was playing on this screen, if I only owned one of these screens, I would play it in 4K and just deal with the artifacts. That's what I would do. But would I trade my 3x 1920 by 1080s for this? I don't think I would, because that peripheral vision and everything is just too much.
Yeah, it's the immersive.
The immersion is more important to me than the super crisp clarity of this picture, which is amazing. If I could have 3 of these, I'd be in heaven. You know, like, this is beautiful. It is beautiful. But, you know, I'm not sure that I would trade my Infinity or NVIDIA surround setup for this. But certainly, if it was a choice between a single 1920 by 1080 monitor and this, I'd take this every time. It's beautiful.
And not only think about that, now throw in 120 hertz in the equation.
120 hertz. Well, this panel's only running at 30 hertz. Now, it's interesting to point that out, that the 30 hertz for me is not the limiting factor on this, right? I don't feel that the 30 hertz of the monitor, because I'm not a real twitcher. I'm not worried about, that microsecond that means that I've killed him instead of him killing me. Yeah. So, as a racer, the fact that this panel's only running at 30 hertz, which is its maximum refresh rate for this resolution, is not the problem. The problem is the tearing and artifacts that you get, which would be improved with a more powerful card, or maybe a pair of cards in Crossfire.
Yeah.
So the fact that this panel runs at 30 hertz is not a huge issue for me, but we're going to look at some other games later where it probably will. It will be an issue.
Probably.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'm done with that, so let's have a look at some of the other games.